We're going to go through now how to set up a grid for a room, which is going to be the first assignment we do. This is also going to show you how to take the importance of trick number 3, which remember is creating like a square or a cube that you can repeat throughout space. So it's a measurable unit, and use this to our advantage when we're dealing with perspective. What I've got on screen here isn't going to exactly match the measurements that I've given you, but I do have measurements that I've given you and I want you to follow them exactly. You should have a 19 by 24 piece of Bristol board. You'll be working on it in a horizontal or landscape format. You should have a 1-inch border on the top and sides, 2-inch border on the bottom. Then starting in the corner of the picture plane, not at the corner of the paper, starting in the corner of the picture plane, you're going to measure up every 2 inches and over every 2 inches. You do not need it on the right or the top. The horizon line is going to be 4 inches down from the top of the picture plane, not the paper, the picture plane. And that line should run to the edge of the paper, not the edge of the picture plane, because that's where your diagonal vanishing point is going to be. And then you'll put a mark in the middle, which is 12 inches from the edge of the paper. So that's the middle of the paper. That will be your central vanishing point. Obviously, what I've got on screen is different than that, but the exact same principles will apply. And there is going to be the video of me doing this on the actual piece of paper as well. So you'll be able to go through all of these resources. But the ideas are the same, and I want to go through this pretty quick here on the paper on Photoshop and explain everything. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to turn this edge of this picture plane into like the front of a room that's had the wall taken off. So the first thing I want to do is put in a floor, and I'm going to put in like bowling lanes, alleys in a bowling lane. So I'm going to connect from the vanishing point to each one of these marks. Notice these marks, they've got to be right on the bottom of the picture plane for this to work. Otherwise, my lines are going to end up in different spots. Notice that I've connected to the corners here as well. This corner of the picture plane represents where the wall turns to the floor. So that's like the right bottom edge of the right wall where it meets the floor all the way back. Also notice that because I'm using the computer, I've had to really make sure that the line goes to the vanishing point each time. That's not the best thing in the world. I would prefer that you stop your lines shy of the vanishing point. So like that would be a better idea. That way you don't create the cluster there. You want to be really accurate. It's hard for me to be accurate on the computer because of the fact that I have to go to the vanishing point each time. So you see some of my lines are a little bit wobbly. You want to keep that clean so you can see it. Alright, we've got these lanes of the bowling alley in now. So we've got our floor starting to go back. What we need now is to turn each one of these into a tile that we know is a square. So we're going to use trick number 3. Now we're going to go to the diagonal vanishing point, which is where the horizon line meets the edge of the paper, not the edge of the picture plane, the edge of the paper. Either one of them will work for you. And we're going to extend as far as your ruler will let you go. If I was doing this with the actual ruler, I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't even bother to draw the line over that part. I would just draw it from here to here. And then everywhere where that crosses over, each one of these spots is going to be a horizontal line. And this will tell me the accurate back of a square so I can get my tiles in on the floor. Now again, this is much more difficult on the computer than with the actual ruler. With the ruler I can just go in both directions. So I'm just going to work my way back up that line. And everywhere where it crosses one of the lines coming from the central vanishing point, yeah, you see I'm having a real hard time being accurate here. Everywhere where that crosses, though, I'm going to put a line. And it will keep going back like that. If the distance between these things isn't getting smaller as it goes back, something's wrong. So I can see here that all of a sudden my cubes got a little bigger again. That's a pretty good hint to me that I wasn't being accurate and I missed this point. So you should keep an eye out for that. And as things start getting smaller, I notice that a lot of students tend to, they'll like miss one, they'll skip, and they'll go back and all of a sudden have something that's twice the size. That would be bad as well. Now on mine, I have so many marks along the bottom here that I could keep going pretty far back. But say for yours, you've only got like 10 marks, or say that your t-square could only reach to here. Notice that this crosses over all of the points here as well. So you only need to do this once. You'll get the same information. But say that your points you don't get enough. You need 15 back. You're not going to get enough. You can just go ahead and do this a second time back here and keep going. That works, and you're going to need to do that on your paper. But for my purposes of this demo, I'm going to say that's enough back. So I'm going to erase out the rest. This will also show you, like, you don't need to go all the way back because you're just going to erase a lot of this out anyways. With perspective, the cleaner you keep your paper, the easier it is to work with. The more information you have on there, the more you're going to get confused about what's going on. So I'm always trying to not make any marks that I don't need and clean up marks as soon as I know I don't need them anymore. So now we've got a tile floor, and the cool thing about this is I know each one of these is a perfect square. These look not like squares just because my diagonal vanishing point's a little too close. Yours is going to be a little too close as well, but we're just going to accept it. This is, given the points that we've chosen, a perfect square. So now I can count through this space. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Pretty wide room. It's 19 units wide. I'm going to say that each unit equals a foot, but they could equal an inch, a mile, whatever you want. I'm going to say feet. So 19 feet wide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet deep. So I've got a 10 by 19 floor here. Now that I've got the floor in place, what I want to do is just build the walls and then complete the room. So I'll draw a line from the top here, the top corner of the picture plane. That's the top of the room where the walls meet the ceiling. Then from the back here, and this is the order I would do it in. I would just put the walls up. And if everything's being accurate, you'll see I can just go up, horizontal, and then back down. That should, I missed it by a little bit because I'm not being accurate, but that should line up right there pretty much. Close actually, yeah, that works. Okay, so you'll see now I've got the walls. Ooh, that's big. Let's do it this way. I've got the walls and the ceiling, the side walls and the ceiling in. Sorry for all the weird pauses in this. I keep having to sneeze, so I'm pausing the video a lot. We've got the side walls, the ceiling, the back wall, and the floor in. Now we want to extend the grid up over everything. So again, if I were you, I'd keep this clean and stop your lines here, but you're lining your ruler up to the vanishing point. But I'd stop there. I've got to do it this way, unfortunately. So what I'm putting in now are height marks up the wall. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The horizon line's at 8 feet. So that means your eye level's at 8 feet. You're like a 6 foot, 5 foot tall, 6 foot tall person standing on a chair. We're pretty high up in the picture plane. Gonna go ahead and delete that out. Remember, it'd be better if your lines just stop there. These lines, once they hit the back, they can just come horizontally across. So this should all be at this point like super easy. You're just following the lines around the room, following the grid around the room. So we've got, what did I say, a 10-foot tall by 10-foot deep by 19-foot wide room. And then for these, I don't need the measurements up the side because I can go from the vanishing point. Let me do this on another layer here. I can do this forward from the vanishing point through each one of these marks, and I'll get the height marks up the wall as well. Let me finish this for you real quick. Again, if I actually had a ruler, I would just start my mark here. I'd line my ruler up from there and then start my mark there. But computers don't make everything easier. Doing pretty good here. I haven't sneezed in a couple minutes. It's really tough recording videos in the spring. There's all these birds and lawnmowers outside and I'm sneezing. Alright, I'll erase that out. I'm sure you all don't care about my sneezing issues. Okay, there, I've got that in place. Same thing going back now. These are depth marks on the wall, and you need to understand them as depth. This is 1 foot back on the wall, 2 feet back on the wall, 3 feet back on the wall. Then each one of these will come over, and where it hits here, it will go down. And if you're being accurate, oh yeah, I actually got it on that one. They line up pretty good. Okay, so those are going to go like that. Those will go down. What I would suggest is have these run up and then just connect these just in case they're not perfectly straight across. Just connect them anyways. And then on the back wall, we'd go ahead and run the line straight up. I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole grid here. We'll run these straight up. And then these lines would go forward from the vanishing point, connect the vanishing point to here, and go forward. So you'll see you don't need those 2-inch marks up top either, because just following the grid will put everything in place. You'll notice as I'm putting in the ceiling here, because the ceiling is closer to the horizon line, the lines are going to get much tighter going back. That's okay, that's how it should be. But I understand it gets a little difficult to see where they're at. But that's how it should look. Alright, at this point I've got the whole grid in place. And then I can start like really just using that to count out everything that I want to put into the room. So you have the handout that I gave you, and all you got to do from this point is look at the handout and start counting the objects. So I'm going to do, in this video, I'm going to do the cube that's straight up front. Actually, I'll go ahead and do the C shape. No, I'll do the cube. I'm going to do the cube off to the side. What I would suggest, and the thing that I'm going to do in the one that I film myself drawing, I'll do the bookcase. And I would suggest putting in the bookcase first. But the cube will work for what we're doing. I'm going to change colors here. So I know that that cube is 1 foot back. It doesn't matter that my room's wider than yours. I'm just going to go with the measurements relative to the wall. It's 1 foot back, 2 feet tall, 2 feet over from the wall, and 2 feet wide. And I can tell that just by counting 1 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot back, 2 feet up, 2 feet over, 1 foot back, 2 more feet over. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to count 1 foot back, 2 feet up. And that will tell me, and this is, again, this is way easier with the T-square and the triangle, and I'll show you that in the physical demo. with the T-squared triangle, I have to draw a line out like that. But for right now, anywhere on that line, anywhere on this blue line is 1 foot back, 2 feet up. And you'll see it lines up to 1 foot back, 2 feet up on the other wall. Then I know that the object is 1 foot back and 2 feet over, so that's here. So I'll come there and I'll drop to meet this line. Now I know that the object is there. It's 2 more feet over. So I know that this is the front of my object right here. That's the front square. And we'll get rid of this because we don't need to see it. Okay, now it's the same for anything else in there. I'm trying to get in, where's the back of the box? Well, the back of the box is, here's the front of the box against the wall, so I'm going to go 2 more feet back, and that's now 1, 2, 3 feet back, 2 feet up. Draw that line all the way over. 2 more back here, so that's going to connect to the back. These lines will connect to each other. It will also connect to the vanishing point. You'll see how that lines up. This would connect. And then this point here, I am going to have to connect to the vanishing point. And you'll see now I've got my box in there. My box is going to look a little different than yours because I've got different measurements on here. But the principle of counting is exactly the same. Alright, so I've got my box. Now, what I would recommend at this point in your drawing is that you go and erase out the floor underneath it so that you don't mistake any of those lines on the floor for lines on the object itself. Wouldn't erase them out until you get that, but once you've got that, go ahead and erase it out, and then you'll see the box just as a clean box. Now, I've also got the box split up into halves, and that's pretty easy. I'll just come up, that's on the floor for me. I'll just come up like this and go over. Or I could come out from here on the wall, right? That's 2 feet back would be the middle of the box. 2 feet back is the middle of the box. And segregate that off. And then again, if you're using the ruler, I wouldn't make all that big line. I would just draw the line from there to there. To find the middle of the box going height-wise, all I need to do is come over 1 foot back, 1 foot up, and go like that. You could do trick number 1, but that would give you the same point. So a lot of those tricks that we looked at, they're useful in certain situations, but now that we've got the grid, we don't even need them. I mean, we will need them in this paper. I didn't teach them to you for no reason, but now I've got the box in place. Where you will need trick number 1, let me go ahead and show you while we're doing this. Be extra helpful here. Where you will need trick number 1 is on the top of the box. You're supposed to put in an ellipse. And the ellipse is like in the halfway point. So what you need to do up here, and you'll have to do this in other places, is you'll do trick number 2 a second time. Go from the vanishing point forward, from the vanishing point forward, and then from here across, and here across, and you'll see that creates a half-size box in the middle. Go ahead and do this in black, and then your ellipse fits into here. So you still do need the tricks. Trick number 2 maybe not, but trick number 1, trick number 3, and trick number 4 you'll definitely use in this. So that's how you'll find that object. Alright, so that's the basics of using the room to count things in. And anything else in the room, you'll go ahead and count in like that. I also want to show you, because I did not do it on the last one, and I should have on the last video. I want to show you thinking about see-through objects, because there's some see-through objects in here. and also open-faced objects. Objects where you, like, it's not see-through, but there's one of the planes are taken off. So let me clear this out here. Alright, if I have an open-faced box, it depends what side I want to take off. So I want to take off the left side of the box here. This would be pretty much what you're seeing on the bookshelves. You'll just extend that. You'll complete the edge that would be otherwise blocked off. So I'd have a corner and I need 3 edges. That one, if it was an opaque box, it would be blocked off. But if I take the side off, then I would just complete all 3 edges. Same thing here. If I want the box to be see-through going back, I would go ahead and complete it to the vanishing point there. Let me do this on another layer. So we'll go ahead and complete it to the vanishing point there. And in this case, I would also be able to see this edge and this edge would get completed. And I would obviously erase that. Now what I've got here is actually a transparent box, right? I can see all sides, so every corner has all of its edge, and it would be like a box made out of glass. If I want that to look open-faced, where it's like I just took the front of the box off, then I would just erase those two. So a transparent box and an open-faced box are pretty closely related. And then if I wanted it to look like the top of the box had come off, then I would just use that edge. So you would start with like the idea of transparency, which you'll need for the box back here, and then some of the boxes back here are open face, so you would start with the transparency and then just delete whatever parts, you know, like that actually has a face on it, so I'll delete that out. That has a face, so I'd erase that out. And now it looks like I'm looking back into the box and my dog or cat could go play in there. So that's the assignment. It all seems daunting. I know it's a lot of explanation I'm giving, a lot of new terms, but just watching it, it's very simple shapes. There are 2 rules, 3 tricks, and then the basic setup of you gotta have, it's not even worth calling it a rule, you gotta have a picture plane, a horizon line, and a vanishing point. And you should be able to complete all of the assignments that we're doing in this section with these concepts. Okay, if you want to see me do this all with the actual tools, which I'd recommend, there's going to be a video for that as well.